All right. Welcome to the Week 13 recap edition of the Lewis and Laraib podcast. My name is Lewis, and the newly 20-year-old Laraib is next to me here, my co-host, and we're going to review and recap all of the Week 13 games, start to finish, hitting your favorite teams, and then later in the podcast, we're going to go into we're 3/4 through the season, so we're going to go into some awards. We got all the traditional awards and some Lewis and Laraib podcast special awards just for all of you. But first things first, Laraib, we got the picks from this week.
Yeah, we sure do have the picks for this week. Lewis, let me pull them up real quick. You're able to eke by me this week. I know the Dallas-Baltimore game is currently going on, but the Baltimore Ravens are up 7-3 at the moment. But this week, I went with the upset with Cleveland, and they pulled through for me. But it all came down to Arizona versus the Los Angeles Rams. And, I was hoping, as a Seahawks fan, I was praying that, those two teams, or at least the Cardinals could beat the Rams so they could have a similar record, but didn't come to fruition. And then on your side, probably the craziest upset we've probably had, the whole season, the Washington football team beats the Pittsburgh Steelers in, a nasty upset on Monday afternoon. But, yeah.
All right, so I'm very happy with my picks. I am now 2 ahead of you in our week's win column with 4 left to go. So I'm in a great spot to secure that box combo, and we'll have a whole different thing for the playoffs coming up. But we'll get to that when we get to that. It'll be even more spicy than a box combo. But speaking of the Washington Steelers game from Monday night, Laraib, let's get straight into that action right now. We're bringing back a fan favorite segment for all of you out there. It is our cap or no cap segment. And just a quick refresher, cap means get out of here, you're lying, you don't know what you're talking about. No cap, there's some truth to that. Keep on doing what you're doing, big man. So let's move on with our first topic, Laraib. After last night's loss to the recently undefeated, not undefeated any longer Steelers at 11-1, are the Steelers frauds, cap, or the Steelers are frauds, Laraib, cap or no cap?
This is a tough one. You don't want to call a 11-1 team frauds, and, I'm going to have to go with no cap. A disappointing loss, and, they've had their flaws all season long, and the Washington football team were able to expose them. I wouldn't call the Steelers frauds. I would just say the football team were just underrated. And they came out, they played a solid game. But for the Steelers, this is going to be one of those games where they're going to look back on the season and either, it goes uphill from here or downhill from here. Are you going to be able to make the adjustments that you need to? The running game all season long has been terrible. Are you going to be able to make adjustments to that? The secondary, you have playmakers in Joe Hayden and Minka Fitzpatrick, but they weren't able to get anything done. Or, they played solid, but, couldn't come up with big stops when they needed to. And then on the offense, just with the passing game, I know you have a lot of playmakers with Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson and Claypool, but their offense just looks stale out there. So, I don't want to call them frauds, but they definitely have, cause for concern moving forward.
Yeah, I'm going to say cap to that statement. I do not think they were frauds, just in the sense that they were put in a very precarious situation for this game. And I know all season they've played down to their competition. And this Steelers team, when they've needed to beat those good teams, they have. And you can talk about the cakewalk schedule that they've had. But you know what? They've won 11 games, and this is the first game they've lost on their schedule. It is what it is. They're still atop the AFC. Now, they've been put in a very precarious situation going into this game because, like we've talked about in prior podcasts, is they've been kind of screwed by the NFL scheduling with COVID. And it just, they've handled their own COVID stuff within building. They haven't had that many cases, but they've had already 3 games rescheduled due to other teams' COVID mismanagement. And, it resulted in a week 3 bye week, which is super early in the season, and no one wants that. The Thanksgiving game was postponed, and then this game was moved from a Sunday to a Monday, but they only had 4 days of rest going into this game. Meanwhile, the football team had a week and a half because they last played on Thanksgiving night. They were supposed to have the same amount of rest going into this game, and I believe if they did, the Steelers would have won this game at home. Now, credit to where credit's due. The football team is a good team, and I think this game was more about, in my opinion, the football team being underrated and being legitimate than it was the Steelers being fraudulent. So credit to Alex Smith, credit to Ron Rivera. Super good stories going into the season with all the chaos surrounding the football team. At this point in the season, everyone has excuses, right? Everyone has excuses. But the things for the Steelers that do give me pause is that running game. 14 attempts for 21 yards is absolutely pitiful. You're not going to be able to play that way in the playoffs. You know, the Steelers, they were so good in the first month of the season with that complimentary football. And I know they're missing James Conner, and when he comes back, they'll be better. But even when he was playing before he was injured, it wasn't that great. It seems like Ben wants to put it all on his shoulders, all on his arm, and try to get things done the old-fashioned way. But that's not going to get it done against better offenses and better defense that you're going to play coming into the playoffs. So they have a tougher schedule going forward, and it's going to say a lot about the character and mettle of this team, how they respond. Like you said, they can go uphill from here and start playing up to their competition and, you know, playing to the strengths of their defense and their passing game, or they go down. And my projections, I believe they're going to go up from this win, even though I predicted the football team to win this game. But I do think this was a big win for the football team, but not too much concern for the Steelers.
Yeah, definitely the big storyline from this game was, you know, what are the implications for the Steelers? Well, this was a huge win for the football team because, as we saw, the Giants, you know, they beat the Seahawks over the weekend, and with the tiebreak, they have already over Washington. If the Washington football team would have lost this game, they would have been down pretty bad to the Giants in the lead in that division. But with this win, you know, they're still in it, and it's still going to be a tight division, you know, for the rest of the season going forward.
Right, absolutely, Laraib. And the thing about the Steelers is, hey, you're still the number one seed in the AFC. You have a tiebreaker over the Chiefs in divisional record. So if you win out and the Chiefs win out, you'll have the advantage over them. And the Chiefs have an impending game against the 10-2 Saints. I realize that the Steelers have games still left against the Colts and the Bills, which are going to be no cakewalks for them, but they should be favored in both matchups. So bring it on. As a Pittsburgh, you know, fan right now, you should be not too concerned.
Yep. But Lewis, let me ask you, cap or no cap, the Philadelphia Eagles made the right choice by benching Carson Wentz and now starting Jalen Hurts this week against the New Orleans Saints.
I realize I've been wrong on Carson Wentz, and I have been mistaken about him all season. I expected them to be a lot better with him at quarterback. However, I'm saying cap. I am not saying Jalen Hurts is the right pick at starter for many reasons. First reason being, why are you doing this? Because the situation in Philadelphia is Carson Wentz's confidence. You know, Jay Glazer came out with a report that his confidence had been shaken following the drafting of Jalen Hurts. Now, that should already be a red flag if your starting quarterback has his confidence shaken because you're drafting a quarterback. I mean, you saw what the Green Bay Packers did drafting Jordan Love in the first round, and that just, you know, pissed Aaron Rodgers off, and he's having one of the best seasons of his career this season. But Carson Wentz, it's kind of like, why are you shaken by that? Just play your game. But here's the thing that I'm going to defend, or that I'm going to go back on this decision by Doug Peterson and the coaching staff, is just the financial investment you have in Carson Wentz. I realize this game, it's about putting the best team out there to win. And Jalen Hurts he provided a spark because they weren't preparing for a more athletic quarterback to come into the game, and it kind of took Green Bay off guard, who doesn't have a great running defense anyway. So he was able to get some running plays, get out of the pocket. And, you know, that big 4th and 18 touchdown he converted, good for him, you know. But I still think Carson Wentz gives you the best chance to win as he has the most experience there. Neither of them are in a great position because of how battered that offensive line is, how battered the receiving core is, the just lack of chemistry between all those units on offense is just, you know, running through mud, it seems like, the lack of communication, how slow things develop for the Philadelphia Eagles. So putting Jalen Hurts in there really doesn't make a difference whether or not you win or lose. And this week you're hosting the New Orleans Saints. So do you just want to bring Jalen Hurts out there for him? Maybe it's a good plan. Maybe you bring Jalen Hurts into the game, and you know this is a really good Saints defense. You're expecting him to get absolutely walloped. And when he does underperform, you can say, all right, we're going to bring Carson back in because he's actually the good quarterback here, which is unfortunate for Jalen Hurts if that is the plan for, hey, let's let him embarrass himself against the Saints, and then we can, you know, defend bringing Carson Wentz back. but you're also putting yourself in a bind if he plays well. Because if he somehow plays well against the Saints defense and potentially wins this game, which would hurt me so much as a Saints fan, but if that can happen, they're going to be in a very sticky situation because not a lot of NFL teams are going to be wanting that huge contract. So you're going to be put in a situation where you're going to have to at least cut Carson Wentz if you want to cut ties with him this offseason because no one wants to pay a backup quarterback $50 million. But if you cut him, that's $50 million in dead cap sitting on your roster for next season, and it goes down to $25 million the next season. So $75 million over 2 years for nothing if you cut him. So Eagles, you did not make the right decision in this matchup.
Well, I'm going to go no cap. First of all, I'm going to step on my soapbox real quickly. And, this is probably the biggest, hot take I've had all season long, and it's finally come to fruition. I said that at some point in the season, Jalen Hurts would take over the starting position for the Philadelphia Eagles, and, that's exactly what happened. Carson Wentz, he just hasn't been playing up to his expectations. And just like you're saying, quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, when their team does bad by them, they go out there and they show out, right? And Carson Wentz's confidence gets shaken. This should be something that motivates him to play better and better, and that's exactly why they need to bench him. If you have a quarterback like that who just gets his confidence shaken after something like that, you got to put him on the bench. And Jalen Hurts, he played well. I know the Packers weren't expecting it, but he played all right. And they, the score 16-30 doesn't look like it might have been a close one, but after, you take away the Aaron Jones long touchdown, the Eagles were still in that game.
Okay, are you going to take away the punt return touchdown as well that had nothing to do with the Philadelphia offense?
You got playmakers. You drafted a playmaker, and he made a play. I can't say anything more about that. But
okay, go on.
If you're talking about Carson Wentz doesn't or can't get traded to a team, but if you're someone like the Chicago Bears with a solid defense and your two options at quarterback are Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles, maybe Carson Wentz is someone that you can go after. I know you're shaking your head, but Carson Wentz, we've seen what this guy can do, right? He almost won MVP one season, and I've seen him, he's about to get sacked. His ankles are rolling on the ground. He can still throw a perfect dot, but if he's not, I just don't understand what happened to him this season. And putting in, you talk about how if Jalen Hurts plays bad, that gives them, the Eagles, the option to put in Jalen Hurts. But if Jalen Hurts plays bad, it gives Carson Wentz the confidence boost to maybe go back to playing how he used to play.
That's right. That could be right. But I think one of the worst things that happened with this Eagles franchise was at the end of last season, right? When everyone went down towards the end of the season, it looked like the Philadelphia Eagles were going to lose that division. All the receivers went down. The offensive line was banged up. And then Carson Wentz went on that 4-game run to end the season, 4-0, and he stole that division from the Dallas Cowboys. The Eagles sort of looked at him and said, you know what, Carson? You can do it with nobody. So we're not going to even attempt to put anyone around you. We're just going to work on the defense and some special teams guys. And, Brandon Brooks goes down. Lane Johnson goes down. You lose Al Galore in the offseason. You lose Alshon Jeffrey to injury. Deshaun Jackson is in and out of the lineup all the time. So your top two receivers, Greg Ward Jr., Travis Fulgham, both undrafted free agents, and Jalen Reagor, who's a rookie who's also missed a ton of time this season. So you're having no chemistry whatsoever. And I'm not defending Carson Wentz because he has played bad this season. But for a guy like Carson Wentz, who is, he's had so much success with great parts around him, you're going to hit this point in your career where it's not over for you. It's not. Just eventually after a Super Bowl winning team, you have to pay certain guys and things get tight and a lot of things have to go right. And he was put in a situation, quite frankly, where this was the year everyone started to crumble. Injuries started to pile up. Jason Peters was cut from the team, but he came back, and now he's back at left tackle, getting injured again. Who would have guessed? You lose Andre Dillard, Brandon Brooks, Lane Johnson. You're having so many undrafted free agents on that offensive line having to step up. And Carson Wentz has been the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. At some point, you got to throw in the white towel. There's no way to gain chemistry if you're always getting sacked. New guys are going in and out of the lineup. So I'm defending Carson Wentz here. I know his play, his decision-making has been poor in situations, but he's been set up to fail by this team.
Yeah, and one thing that really surprises me, Carson Wentz gets, all of the flack, but no one talks about how Doug Peterson, I haven't seen any hate go towards him. He's one of the flashiest coaches in the league, writing a book about how he beat Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl. And ever since then, he hasn't done jack squat, and he thinks he deserves all this respect. Meanwhile, all the head coaches in the NFL, definitely have something against him for just how cocky he is, and he's not taking any of the flack this season for how poorly this team has been doing.
Well, I hope the biggest chapter in that book is how Frank Reich made me look like a competent coach, because that was the situation that Super Bowl year. And as we see now, Frank Reich, head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, is the one who has the high-flying offense, and with interchangeable parts himself, he's able to string things together, and they have a really competitive team there in Indianapolis. And ever since, Frank Reich left, this offense has been in shambles, and it's kind of been, hey, Carson, save us. And this season, he can't save you. So you've been put in a really horrible situation to survive. Your defense hasn't been playing very terribly, but you're not the defensive guy. That's what's his name? The defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz. That's his responsibility. He's always been a good defensive coordinator since he was the head coach of Detroit back in the day. So I think he's been very lazy, quite honest with you. I mean, as an outsider's perspective, I'm not an Eagles fan. I'm not constantly paying attention to this team, but it seems like he's been lazy since that Super Bowl, and this team has gotten complacent, and there's been a lack of trust in Carson Wentz because they're telling him, hey, fix everything, and this season he's crumbled. All right, but we're going to move on, Laraib, now to our third topic of cap or no cap. Big win for the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. So, Laraib, cap or no cap, the Cleveland Browns are now contenders in the AFC.
I have to go cap on this one. I know this was a huge win going forward for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, they played an outstanding football game, just beat up all over the Titans team. But if there's one thing I know about Baker Mayfield, he definitely has his high ups and his very low lows. I mean, he threw 4 touchdowns in this game, had an incredible performance. But next week, I don't know who they're playing, but you could definitely see him coming out next week throwing, less than 200 yards and having a couple interceptions and some terrible plays. Now, and who they played against, the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans, one of the better teams in the NFL at the moment, but we've seen them also have their ups and downs, right? They beat the Colts the past weekend, very handedly. 2 weeks before that, they lost to the Colts really bad. So the Titans team that we've seen has been really inconsistent. And, this win, is good for the Browns, but really doesn't, put them up in the same category as a team like the Chiefs or the Patriots or the Packers or the Saints. The defense, I know, Myles Garrett, he's in the defensive player of the year conversation, but, they still gave up 30-plus points. I know most of it garbage time. But the Tennessee Titans they were onside kick away from, winning that game. And then, on the offensive side of the ball, just like I said, Baker Mayfield, ups and downs, and the running game is what's really has been carrying them this season.
I'm going to say no cap, and I'm tentative on this one. It's not a definitive no cap because there are holes, and I'll get to those. But when you think of what wins you games in December and January, Laraib, this is the most, storied – I guess this is the most proven way to get wins in December and January, and that is great pass rush and running the ball. And 2 guys who were injured earlier in the season in different spurts, but now are back for this Cleveland Browns team, Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett. And they make the world of a difference for this team when they are both healthy. When they are healthy, I'll start with Nick Chubb. Baker Mayfield is the most productive quarterback, or is the 5th most productive quarterback in the NFL per Pro Football Focus when Nick Chubb is healthy, in terms of touchdown and interception, putting the ball in the right spot. And that's, credit to Kevin Stefanski for developing such a good play-action pass game. And we saw Baker Mayfield. Yeah, he has very high highs, but his lows have gotten much higher recently with, the game plan and the position that Kevin Stefanski has put him in to succeed. And we saw the highest of his highs. 4 touchdowns in the first half, absolutely lighting it up. And then in these type of games, they can rely on their running game to close teams out. And I understand the Tennessee Titans, they came back in garbage time, yada, yada, yada. They weren't going to beat the Browns on this day, no matter what. No matter how – the score is deceiving. It was a 3-score game throughout the entire game. So the Browns were in a situation now where they kind of remind me of the Tennessee Titans from last year. They're kind of getting slept on, and they're going to end up going to a Pittsburgh. And Laraib, if I told you right now, if Cleveland went to Pittsburgh and beat Pittsburgh right now, how shocked would you be?
I'll be pretty shocked, yeah. I mean, it's my talking point I was about to bring up. See, when they go down or when they face a team like the Steelers, right, and they can't run the ball, then what are they going to do with Baker Mayfield when he has his inconsistencies and he's throwing interceptions and he's not looking good?
But they have not proven to not be able to run the ball. I mean,
I'm just saying at some point when you're going to play a good team and they're just going to say, well, we're just going to put it all on Baker Mayfield. We're going to commit to this run attack that the Browns have, and it's all going to be on Baker Mayfield.
Are the Titans not a good team? I mean, Baker Mayfield played amazing in that game.
Well, how amazing did he play against the Steelers earlier on in the season?
Without Nick Chubb, that's the big thing. He's the engine of their offense. And no Nick Chubb in that game was the reason why they couldn't get much going. I love Kareem Hunt, but Kareem Hunt is now as a 2. He's a complimentary back. He's a good third down back. But those two dynamic off of each other is what propels this Browns offense to be the number 1 rushing offense in the entire NFL. And how they're able to move the chains. Nick Chubb is averaging almost 6 yards per carry this season. That is absolutely ridiculous. And having that constant first down chain mover on your team is insane. And then the impact of Myles Garrett on this defense is so huge. I mean, the Titans had no offensive production in that first half. And it only took till the second half to where, the Browns let up. But my caution here for the Browns is you're 9-3. Everything's looking nice and cheeky. And, you're 99% chance to make the playoffs. Things can change a lot in the NFL. And if you don't take this seriously and you go back to old Browns habits, which no one's saying you can't, I have faith in you because I love your head coach right now. But Browns can brown it up towards the end of the season. And if you somehow miss the playoffs, that's going to be worse than going 0-16 because you're there. Right now, you were there. You miss the playoffs right now, that is an absolute unmitigated failure.
I mean, statistically, I think it's almost impossible that they miss the playoffs. But, one thing that they can do is win their division. A Steelers loss this weekend was big, and they still play the Steelers one more time this season, Lewis. So, you want to put a cane sauce on that game? You want to put a cane? Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Baker Mayfield has not proven to me.
Hold up. Are you saying on that specific game? Are you saying on that specific game? Or are you saying
on that game? On that game.
On that game? I'm saying the Browns win that game.
Okay, I got a cane sauce as the Steelers win that game.
If you were saying if the Browns can come back and win the division, I'm not taking that.
No. I think the Steelers are a solid team. But
also, the Steelers might be in a position in Week 17 where they don't need to play anybody because they might have the number 1 seed locked up. So it might not even matter. But we'll get to that game when we get to that game. We got a little bit more juice on it, Laura. But Laura, bring us into our last cap or no cap.
The final cap or no cap. Lewis, cap or no cap. Was that Jets defensive play call the worst that you've ever seen in a situation like that in NFL history?
Absolutely no cap. That was the worst. I mean, when you're 12 years old playing Madden, right, and your dumbass 13-year-old cousin is in a 4th and 18, what does Ask Madden tell you to do? Prevent. It tells you to just get back, rush 3. And I understand. There's these miracle plays sometimes, and as a defensive coordinator, you just got to live with the miracles because more times than not, miracles don't happen. And maybe Greg Williams just finished watching the Cardinals-Bills game from a few weeks ago and was like, oh, my goodness, the Bills let Kyler Murray get out of the pocket and really damage. Did you think Derek Carr was going to get out of the pocket and save all that time? Were you that unfaithful that 8 guys in the end zone weren't going to stop or tackle inbounds? Henry Ruggs, who's not the tallest guy, forced him to do a jump ball. Why don't you get some guys back there to do that? I honestly can't explain. The only thing that can come to my mind is how arrogant and egomaniac a man that Greg Williams is, who's now fired, and you're never going to get a job in the NFL again. So congratulations. The last thing people are going to remember you for is that horrible play call and a bounty gate. So congratulations on your legacy, Greg Williams. But back to the point is, are you that arrogant to say, you know what no one does in this situation? Engage 8. But one of my guys is going to get there to where a play can't develop, and I'm going to leave my undrafted rookie cornerback, whose name is Lamar Jackson, on Henry Ruggs, who ran a 4.27. Yeah, that's a good idea, Greg. Have fun never getting a job in the NFL again.
Yeah, well, this is obviously a no cap type of question, but if you thought maybe the Jets would have done this just to lose this game on purpose, but if you think about it, if they wanted to lose on purpose, then you talked about this earlier with me, but why would they want to score late in the fourth quarter and give themselves the lead, right? And then why would they want to fire their defensive coordinator if their whole purpose was to lose that game? So that definitely, you chalk that up to just terrible play calling by Greg Williams. And then, credit to Derek Carr. The pocket did collapse around him, and he stepped up in there, and he just threw – I mean, that was a perfect ball, Lewis. I've seen that play like a couple times now. That was a great throw by Derek Carr. He steps up, and he just – the ball landed perfectly in his hands. Like, he couldn't have placed it any better. So, props to Derek Carr. But we talked about it 2 weeks ago, how great the Raiders have been. And then they lose to the Falcons, and they're about to give the Jets their first win of the season, and they got bailed out. But
one more thing on the Jets before I have a little tangent on the Raiders real quick is to people love controversy. They love the Denver airport, controversy with the Broncos and Deflategate, all this stuff. People eat it up. So when they see, oh, maybe it was an elaborate ploy to tank, players don't tank. And I know that for a fact. Players in the NFL are trying to earn their checks, do whatever they're trying to do because they get paid for this. This is a business. You think Lamar Jackson's out there trying to get scored on, trying to get embarrassed? Absolutely not. They just did what they were game planned to do. And it was all on Greg Williams. And I'm not excusing, Adam Gase for this situation because, oh, you're handing over the reins to Greg Williams. If you're the head coach, man up and tell Greg Williams, we're not doing this. You need to understand, have game awareness. Why are we running an engage 8 situation against one of the best offensive lines in football? But that's my thing with the Jets. It was no tomfoolery. It was no elaborate plan because if the Jets were that smart, they wouldn't be 0-12. But my thing with the Raiders, they're out of it. I mean, we look like fools right now because we gave them so much praise 2 weeks ago after they lost to the Chiefs, and we asked ourselves, we were like, was that more, were you more impressed or less impressed with the Raiders after that loss? And we said more impressed because they were toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you go to Atlanta, to one of the worst teams in the NFL, and get absolutely blown off the field 43-6. And then you almost give the Jets their first – the Jets beat the Raiders 59 and 54 seconds of that game. They beat the Raiders. And it just so happened 6 seconds left, the Raiders won it. So your hopes are done. John Gruden, I don't know what to say right now. I'm thoroughly disappointed. You still have the Colts coming up on your schedule. That will be a loss next week. I can't wait to predict it. I really can't. And no, that's my thing on the Raiders. Find a nice place at home, social distance, and watch the playoffs.
Oh, you think the Raiders are not making the playoffs?
No, I don't. No.
Oh, man.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think the Patriots are going to finish with a better record.
Well, only one game behind, so don't count the Patriots out just yet.
Half a game behind because they have the head-to-head.
Yes, that is true.
Okay, Laraib, so after that segment, we've been down on some teams, but it's time to give some adulation and some love to different players and teams with our award show. We are 3/4 of the way through the season, and we're going to go through all the traditional awards, and we've thrown in our own little special awards in there as well pertaining to some teams. So let's get started. This was a very hotly debated topic in the beginning of the season. We had so many good candidates for this award, but some guys fell off, injury, stuff like that happens. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Laraib, who is your pick?
I mean, Justin Jefferson just put up a great case this past week, 1,000 yards and the touchdowns, and just the season he's been having. That's been unexpected. But give me Justin Herbert. I mean, he gets thrown into the fire against the Chiefs, and ever since then, he's played great. I know you go up against the Patriots this week and you put up 0 points on offense, but we know the history Bill Belichick has against rookie quarterbacks. And, Justin Herbert is on pace to break a couple rookie passing records, so that's good for him. And the biggest thing about it is, if you went back and look at the draft earlier this season, there was 0 people who thought that this was a good pick for the Chargers. I mean, Skip Bayless, a whole bunch of people were saying, Justin Herbert, he's going to be a bust. He's not going to play well for the Chargers. He's not going to fit in. And he's come out and he's absolutely lit it up. He's had great rapport with all his receivers. I know terrible coaching has really prevented this team from taking a leap to the next level. But give me Justin Herbert for my Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Justin Herbert's definitely the safest pick here. Like you said, he's on pace to break a lot of rookie records, and he has played very well this season. My best fantasy waiver wire pickup of the season. But I'm going to give a nod to Justin Jefferson here. If these certain things happen, if the Vikings can make the playoffs and knock off either the Buccaneers or the Saints when Justin Jefferson has a good game, I think he gets it. I really do, because playing on a big stage like that against a good opponent and then putting up great stats in a winning effort, that's going to seal the deal, because Justin Herbert is nowhere near the playoffs. And we understand the situation against New England, but you still got shut out and you lost embarrassingly bad. Now, you can say it was the special teams and you can blame it on your coach who will not be your coach after the season ends. But I'm going to say Justin Herbert's my favorite. My brain is telling me Justin Herbert, but my heart is telling me Justin Jefferson. So as of now, Justin Jefferson is my offensive rookie of the year. Go Tigers. But now, Laraib, switching over to the other side of the ball, we have a few standout defensive rookies this season. No confident, no guy who's really making that huge splash like we've seen some guys in the past few seasons. But who is your pick for defensive rookie of the year?
There's a couple names I could throw out there, but for me, it has to be the number 2 overall draft pick in Chase Young, just the way that Washington front seven has been playing all season long, and he's been a big part of it. I mean, he's just a rookie in the NFL, and he's already being triple teamed on, whenever he's rushing the passer. So, I mean, he's revitalized how the team plays on defense, given, you see him on the sideline, he's amped up, all the players are hyped around him. So give me Chase Young for my defensive rookie of the year.
I'm disappointed in you, Laraib, because our podcast has been the number 1 Jeremy Chinn fan page, and that is exactly where I'm going with this pick. Jeremy Chinn, safety for the Carolina Panthers, who has been playing outstanding all season. Credit to the, because we talked about early in the season, we were like, this Panthers defense is just young and scrappy. We can't name 2 players in their defense, but they really get after it. And I know this has been a tough season for Panthers fans, but Jeremy Chinn has been playing so well. And that last time we saw him, he scored 2 touchdowns on 2 consecutive plays off of fumble recoveries and going into the end zone against the Vikings. How much more impact can you need from a defensive player? That's why I'm going to give credit to Chase Young. I'm going to give credit to Antoine Winfield with the Buccaneers. Have all been playing very good this season.
Patrick
Queen as well, who's also up there. Who could have a really good game tonight. But I think Jeremy Chinn has run away with it. With his numbers are going to look the best at the end of the season. So give me Jeremy Chinn. But now, Laura, we have a special award. A lot of teams have played well in this COVID stretch, and a lot of teams have not. But what team has disappointed you based off your expectations for them earlier in the season?
I mean, it has to be the Chicago Bears, right? I know I was personally calling them the worst 5-1 team of all time. A lot of people were, and that's what happened. That defense is one of the best in the NFL, but at 5-1, now you've lost, 6 straight games when a team like this was vying for the, top seed in the NFC, or the top place in the NFC North. And now, they're basically out of the playoffs after the loss to the Lions this past week. And you thought, Matt Nagy, you could have done something with you brought in Nick Foles, and you thought he could revitalize the offense, but then you have to bring out Mitchell Trubisky, and now Nick Foles goes down. Mitchell Trubisky's dealing with injury, and now he's playing bad. So definitely a team that you had high hopes for, especially with how they play on the defensive side of the ball. Just been disappointing all season long.
Yeah, my team is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, the big thing for us coming into the season was quarterback, coach, having that connection beforehand. You were going to have an innate advantage going into the season. So when we looked at the NFC East, we saw you either had a new coach, a new quarterback, or both for all the teams except for one, and that was Philadelphia. And how disappointing both of those entities, not only Carson Wentz, but we just talked about it, how disappointing Doug Peterson has also been this season. And now they're contending for the last place and probably the worst division in football. You've had all these opportunities to get the ship righted and all these opportunities. You had so much margin for error, and now you've just messed it up. And it looks like the two worst teams in the division going into the season are now the two best teams, and you've let it get that way. So the Eagles are my most disappointing team. But speaking of bad coaching, let's get to great coaching, Laraib. Who is your coach of the year?
Personally, there's plenty of candidates out there. A lot of surprising teams this year, but definitely one of the most surprising ones all season long has been the Miami Dolphins, right? We talked about you go back to last year, tanking for Tua, and you thought they could go 0-16. But this year, they start off slow, right, with Ryan Fitzpatrick. But then that defense just came alive, so far in the second half of the season. And credit to Brian Flores and, all the whole coaching staff has been playing great all season long. And for that team, now you're in the playoffs when last year you're one of the worst teams in the NFL. Credit where credit's due to Brian Flores and how this team has been playing the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that's a really good pick, but I'm going to go with Mike Tomlin. Best record in the NFL and all the adversity he's had to deal with this season. I know the schedule has been easy, but he's taken advantage of it. Only one loss in the season. That was last night. But he's really taken advantage of the situation. And all the things have been thrown at him. He's been 2020 this season. He's been hit with all the COVID. They've dealt with it amazing in the Steelers building. But, through, a week 3 bye week all the way till, 3 games in 12 days that they're going through right now, you got to give it up for Mike Tomlin, how he's handled this team in this situation through injuries, adversity, and everything else going on in this COVID 2020. He is my coach of the year. But now we're going to move on to comeback player of the year. And I'm just going to hit on this real quick. I'll let you barge in if you want to, but this is absolutely Alex Smith.
For sure.
For him being able to play football.
For him being able to walk is
miraculous. I mean, given we all saw that gruesome injury that he suffered in 2018, and to not yet, like you said, to be able to walk is a miracle enough, but playing quarterback and tied for the lead in a division, and you could win this division, go to the playoffs, and host a home playoff game. I tip my hat to Alex Smith, who was playing very well this season. And we even saw last night he got, a cleat straight to the shin, and he was bleeding all the way down his cleat. And just tough as nails. Amazing story, amazing man, Alex Smith. Anything else you want to say about that?
You hit the nail right on the head. All adversity he's been through, going to the 49ers and going to the Chiefs, everyone calls him, just your basic average quarterback, check down. He doesn't have any ability. But then he comes here, he doesn't get the starting job. Dwayne Haskins, then Brendan Allen. But now he's really come into his own, taking this offense. And, just like you're saying, that now they're going for a playoff spot, which is just amazing.
Right. So all the credit in the world to him. He absolutely has this award on lockdown. There's a lot of good comeback stories this season, but nothing can match what Alex Smith has gone through and come back from. But now we're going to move on now, Laraib. Speaking of surprises, who's been the most surprising team based off their success this season?
The most surprising team has to be the Buffalo Bills. I was high on them to start the season. Then I was low on them, and now I've been back high on them, right? 9-3. And not a lot of people are going to talk about how they've been playing. I know October was a very bad month for them, but ever since then, Josh Allen And that defense, you saw Matt Milano came back into the lineup for them last night. Instant impact against that 49ers run game. I mean, this team, I know the big hitters in the AFC are going to be, the Steelers and the Chiefs, maybe the Browns. But the Bills team has been amazing so far this season. Sean McDermott, another one of those guys who would be going for Coach of the Year, but definitely one of the most surprising teams, the Buffalo Bills.
You got to give this to the Cleveland Browns. They've locked up a winning record this season for the first time in 13 years, and it looks like they're going to make the playoffs since they did in that 2007 season. And you know what? Kevin Stefanski has come in and done an absolute spectacular job in helping Baker Mayfield, getting this offense, righted when all last year they were all hype, no effort, no energy. And this season it's all effort, all energy. And it seems like they found their identity running the ball. And Myles Garrett has come on super strong for them as well. So my surprising team is this Cleveland Browns team who has, like we said, they could win this division. They could steal it from the Steelers. I'm not saying they are, but it's a possibility. But now we're going to move on to our offensive player of the year. We've had a lot of great studs this season, Laraib. But who is your pick for the best offensive player?
My best offensive player has to go to Dalvin Cook. I mean, just the absolute tear that he went on a couple of weeks ago, the amount of touchdowns he scored, the amount of yards he's acclimated. I mean, he is literally carrying that Vikings team on his back. I know, the couple of games where Kirk Cousins plays bad, it's all up to him. I know he deals with injury sometimes, a little injury prone, but that team is going to make it however far they make it in the playoffs because of Dalvin Cook.
And you can say the exact same thing for one Derrick Henry in Tennessee. The team goes as he goes. He is the most destructive force in this league, him and Aaron Donald. And when he is going downfield, you better move out of the way. He's had his share of highlights this season for one of the most impressive highlight reels you can put out there for any player this season so far. And, I mean, we can just talk about the stiff arm on Josh Norman and all of these things he's done. He is my pick for offensive player of the year. But, Laraib, speaking of offense, let's flip it over to the defensive player of the year. Who is your pick?
Yeah, I think you and I can both agree it has to be TJ Watt, right? Leads the league in sacks, tackle for loss, quarterback pressure rate. I mean, he's just been playing out of his mind this season, and he's one of the reasons why the Steelers are one of the best defenses in the league right now.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to go with Lamar Jackson, the cornerback. Never mind. I'm going to also go with TJ Watt with you. He is the best player on probably the best defense in the entire NFL, and he is the main reason probably why that defense has been playing so well and just leading the league in sacks. Absolute monster. He's a great, he's really good in the passing game as well, stopping the run. He's the entire package. And is it too much of a hot take to say his peak might be better than his brother's peak?
Yeah, very well could be. And when he's on defense, think about all the other playmakers that he has along with him. Bud Dupree, Stephon Tuitt, just a whole defensive line, right? So it just gives him more and more opportunities to not have those triple teams or those double teams on him. Just giving him more, just giving him more stats to accumulate.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, great defense and great defensive line there, obviously headlined by the one and only TJ Watt. But speaking of our prestige this season, we got to give ourselves some pats on the back, which I will be doing and you will be doing. But we're going to start with you, Laraib. We've had a lot of takes this season, some hot, mostly cold. But what is the one hot take that you've had this season that you're most proud of? And you're in a situation now where you can say, I told you so, Lewis.
Well, there's two I could choose from. Obviously, the Chicago Bears at 5-1, where you were just like, oh, they're the worst 5-1 team of all time. But no, I have to go with this Jalen Hurts take that I had. I told you, I put my fist down. I said that at some point that Jalen Hurts would be starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. And now this week, I mean, it's all coming true.
Well, I know you're not bringing up predictions right now. As you know, I'm 2 weeks ahead of you in our predictions. And one of my predictions I'm most proud of came this week, I'll say, Laurent. Okay, and you called me afterwards and you said, look, I understand you picked the football team, but there's a better way to pick upsets. You pick two good teams and anything can happen. Well, I picked two good teams, and the better team that night won, and that was the football team. Road underdogs, 10-point underdogs, and I called it. I knew it from the start. I thought Antonio Gibson would have a bigger mark in this game, but Cam Sims, Logan Thomas, all got it done for me. So I'm looking like that's probably my best hot take. But whenever the season ends and I win these predictions, then we'll find that out. But finally, MVP. Now I know a lot of great performances and a lot of the guys we mentioned so far have a weird, MVP case, but it really comes down to two guys, Laura. Who is your MVP for the 2020 season?
And I have to go with Patrick Mahomes. Every single game he's played this season, he has looked outstanding. You could make a case for Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers got absolutely blown out of the water against the Vikings and against the Buccaneers. So, and Patrick Mahomes, I know he's lost a game, but in that game, he's only thrown 2 picks all season long. So, I mean, he's playing out of his mind. The Chiefs most likely looking like they have a very high chance of going back-to-back this season, and it's all going to be because of one Patrick Mahomes.
I absolutely agree with you, Laraib. Now, an argument could be made. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the offensive coaching staff and doesn't have the weapons around him that Mahomes does. But Mahomes is making it work, baby. He's not losing, and he's having these guys having their best seasons of their careers. I mean, you don't have slouches around you. You have a better running game, Aaron. So it's very close between the two. Aaron Rodgers having a spectacular season, but Patrick Mahomes, better record, and playing in a tougher AFC, who's played tougher opponents this season. And I would argue a tougher conference from the bottom to the top, or tougher division, excuse me. So I really think Patrick Mahomes is fully deserving of this award, and credit to him for playing amazing this season. In my eyes, it's a no-brainer. Don't overthink it too much. But besides that, we have a Thursday night football game, Laraib. We have not had one last week because of a COVID situation, but we are very thankful that we have one this Thursday, and it is the New England Patriots traveling to face the Los Angeles Rams. Rams favored by 5 in this matchup. Laraib, you start us off with this one.
Yeah, the Los Angeles Rams, a very convincing win they had this past week against the Arizona Cardinals, where that defense showed out. Troy Hill with the pick 6. Kyler Murray, I know he has been playing like himself the past couple of weeks, but that defense was giving him fits all day long. I think Jalen Ramsey is the best cornerback in the NFL. I mean, at this moment, he's been shutting down guys all season long. I know, Jair Alexander, Kyle Fuller, some other guys you could throw into the conversation, but definitely Jalen Ramsey has to have my vote. And, the Patriots, they're not out of the playoffs just yet, right? We gave up on them early on in the season, but Cam Newton and that defense is really what's the strong suit of that game. And it's all going to come down to, can that Patriots defense limit that Rams offense that can attack you in so many different ways? But in this one, I think Jared Goff, I think he can get it done at home.
This is a tough one for me because I remember a certain Super Bowl 2 years ago where Bill Belichick made Jared Goff look like your average quarterback and, quite frankly, outcoached Patrick Mahomes or outcoached Sean McVay. But there's no Tom Brady at quarterback. You have a Cam Newton at quarterback. But the Patriots have looked very good. And at 5 points, if I was a betting man, I would pick the Patriots to cover. But I like the Rams in this game because we've seen how the Rams have played this season against teams with not so great offenses but good defenses. Their defense can absolutely stifle that team's offense, and I don't understand. I can't see how the Patriots are going to muster up enough offense against a good special teams unit and a good defense with the Rams, probably the best special teams unit in the league. They're not going to make those mistakes that the Chargers did, and then you're not going to be able to capitalize off of them if you're the Patriots. So it's all going to be about scheme, and can this defense stop Jared Goff? And if you can get turnovers, they can definitely win this game. But I'm going to have the Rams winning in a very, very close game. It's going to be super fun. One of the better Thursday night football games we're going to see all season. Give me the Los Angeles Rams to move to 9-4 and really secure a hold on this NFC West. And I'm going to have it a score of 18-14. Give me the Rams.
Yeah, this is going to be defensive battle on Thursday Night Football. Both teams, the Rams especially looking to steal up the NFC West, But the Patriots definitely still have a chance to make the playoffs, and this is going to be a big game for them. But just like you, I'm going to have to go with the Rams. Their offense, I believe, even going against the Patriots defense, is going to be able to muster up a lot more points that what Cam Newton is going to be able to against the Rams, defense. So give me Jared Goff and the Rams in this one. I'm going to go lower scoring just like you, 21-17.
All right, both have 4-point spreads in this game. So that means if you're betting, hey, bet the Patriots to cover. I'm just saying. But that will do it for this podcast. The Week 13 recap and review. We will be posting our predictions for Week 14 on Thursday. But besides that, we'll leave the links for our Twitter and Instagram in the bio so you can be updated every single time we post. And that will conclude this episode. Laraib, anything you want to say before we head out?
Yeah, if you send me a picture of Lamar Jackson, the cornerback, being burnt by Henry Ruggs, I will Venmo you $1.
And if you send me a picture of Lamar Jackson, the quarterback, being burnt by Henry Ruggs, oh man, you're going to get something special because that's going to be a very tough thing to edit. But that will be it for this game or for this podcast. Like I said, links in the bio, but I hope you all have a great night. Anything else for you, Laraib?
Nope. See y'all.
All right, peace out.